So, welcome to today's video. Please excuse if I look slightly more tired than usual, but I basically just got home from a little weekend getaway trip to northern Italy. And while I was away in northern Italy, I actually managed to pick up this little guy, the Fuji X100 Mark VI. So I've been a long time Fuji X100 user. I started out with the Fuji X100 Mark IV, so the Fuji X100F, back in, I don't know, actually 2018 or something. I then went on to purchase the X100V back in February of 2020 when it was first announced. And I then used that guy for about 2 years, maybe slightly longer. But I went on to buy a Q2 and then sold my Fuji X100V off. And it's been, I don't know, over a year, I think, since I last had a Fuji X100, and I was super excited when I saw the announcement of the Fuji X100 Mark VI, because while I absolutely loved the Fuji X100V, I always thought that it was missing IBIS, and I also desperately wanted it to have 10-bit video shooting capabilities because, well, for the stuff that I use it for, which is just basically documenting my life in terms of photography, maybe some street photography and landscape photography here and there, but also as a secondary camera to shoot the videos that I shoot on this channel, and maybe sometimes to just get some sort of atmospheric B-roll wherever I am. I really love to shoot in f-log. I absolutely adore f-log. But in order to grade f-log properly, you obviously want 10-bit files. But anyway, the Fuji X100 Mark VI was therefore basically the camera of my dreams. And I went ahead and pre-ordered that guy on the day that it was announced, but so did everybody else. And therefore, I simply didn't get mine. Now fast forward a couple of days, and my wife and I were actually planning to go on a little weekend getaway to northern Italy anyway. And for whatever reason, I decided to just check if any camera store in Turin, which was where we wanted to go, had a Fuji X100 Mark VI in store. Low chance, I know, but what do you know? One of the stores actually just had a silver Fuji X100 VI in store, and so I emailed them, asked them if I could make a reservation on that camera, and sure enough, I could. And then when we were there, I just went to the store, picked it up, and now I got it, and I'm super happy and excited about it. Now, this is just a first impression video. I honestly haven't had a lot of chances to properly use this camera. It was raining in northern Italy all of the time. And also, I mean, I was there on a holiday with my wife, so I was mostly there to enjoy the time and be present and not be in photography mode and wander off on my own to, I don't know, do some street photography or whatever. So obviously I can't give you like a full conclusion on what this camera is like to use quite yet. But I do have some first impressions to share, which might be particularly interesting for you if you're either a Leica Q owner and user, or maybe you're a user of any of the predecessors of this camera. So let's get into it. And what I want to mention first off is just how nice it was to finally have a Fuji X100 camera back in my hands. I mean, it was just straight off super familiar. It was just like meeting an old friend again. You immediately get along, and you know that obviously some things have changed, but at the core you're both still the same and you both just click. And that's exactly what getting this camera was like. It's pretty much in many ways a Fuji X100V, but just better. It feels faster, it feels more snappy, it feels a bit more smooth in the way that it works. And the images and the colors, I mean, you just gotta love it. One of the things that I appreciate most about working with the Fuji camera is just how nice the images look straight out of camera. Obviously, I immediately went ahead and put all of the settings back in for my favorite Fuji recipe, and the colors of the JPEGs just straight out of camera are just so lovely, which is actually why back in the days when I started out with my Fuji journey, I didn't even bother to shoot RAW at all. Now I do, but back then I didn't even bother because the images just looked so nice straight out of camera, no need to edit whatsoever. But aside from the images just looking nice straight out of camera, it's also just a bit more fun because the representation of your image on the back of your screen just looks nice. It looks visually pleasing just the second that you took the image, and that's just something. Other than that, I actually have to look it up, but as I said earlier, I think that the whole camera just feels a bit smoother. I don't know if the EVF and the LCD do have a higher refresh rate or something, but it certainly feels like it. So take that with a grain of salt. I actually haven't looked it up, but it feels a lot smoother and more, I don't know, everything just works better. Aside from that, obviously one of the main new headline features is that the camera now finally has IBIS, in-body image stabilization, and that is huge, and you notice it right away, especially in low light situations. Obviously, if you do need a faster shutter, that won't help at all, but if you can go lower, it's just incredible how good this camera now performs in low light conditions, and it's pretty much just everything that I always wished for back in the days with the Fuji X100V. I absolutely adore it. And the second benefit of having that IBIS now is that you can get those video shots with the camera just handheld. Now it doesn't work that great when you are walking along, so it's not like the camera is on a gimbal, it's actually a bit jerky, but if you're just standing there and using the camera handheld in video mode, it actually looks rather smooth. Even if you're doing some panning movements, I think it works really well. And since you now also do have 10-bit files, grading your files in post is just an absolute breeze. Obviously, I haven't taken too many videos just yet, but from what I've seen, I just absolutely loved it. One feature that the camera apparently is still lacking is any sort of F-log assist mode, so that you don't see the F-log in its ungraded state on the back of your camera when you're recording, but rather with some sort of preset applied. That's a feature that I really loved on my Fuji X-T4 back in the days, but apparently the X100 doesn't have that. So obviously while you're filming your videos in F-log, the video looks rather bland, but doesn't really matter. It will look great later in your editing software. So having IBIS in video mode, and also having 10-bit log files is just much appreciated. Pretty much everything that I ever wanted. Also, one feature that I immediately fell back in love with, and I wasn't even expecting that, is the hybrid viewfinder. Now, truth be told, most of the time back with my previous X100 cameras, I used just the electronic viewfinder, and the electronic viewfinder is great on these cameras, don't get me wrong, but for whatever reason, most of the time over the past day and a half or so, I just used the hybrid viewfinder, and I absolutely love the experience. It's just super engaging. It works really, really well for most situations anyway. Obviously, it's nice to be able to just switch to the EVF whenever you want for whatever reason, but having that hybrid viewfinder is just, I don't know, it's amazing. It also amazes me that no other manufacturer is doing it, but kudos to Fuji. I'm super happy that they kept it in here, even though I assume that actually most people are just using the EVF, but it's just nice. It's just super nice to also have this hybrid viewfinder in here. And if you have this camera or any of its predecessors and you're only using the EVF, do yourself a favor, just for the fun of it, give the hybrid viewfinder a try. I promise you, it's super fun, it's super engaging, and just something different, something that you don't get pretty much anywhere else. Aside from that, I also did get a new lens hood for this camera, which is a much better fit than the lens hood that I previously used on my Fuji X100V, and it also works just absolutely fantastic with the hybrid viewfinder. It just doesn't, or barely gets in the way, and I will leave a link for it in the description below. I found it on Amazon. And also I managed to get a teleconversion lens, so the TCL for the X100 camera, in advance. It was pretty much the last one that was in stock anywhere in Germany, I think, so I bought that guy like 2 weeks ago. Back in the days, I actually had both the TCL and the WCL, so the wide conversion lens, but I sold both of those back when I sold my X100V. So yeah, I had to rebuy the teleconversion lens, and I am seriously super excited to just use it some more. I honestly didn't use it a lot back in the days for whatever reason, but maybe after using the Leica Q2 for so long, I've just gotten slightly tired of shooting more wide-angle photos all of the time, and for whatever reason I'm now super excited to shoot at 35mm or even 50mm more often. So yeah, for now all I can say is that the X100V is pretty much everything that I wanted it to be, and it's pretty much everything that I wanted the X100V to be back in the days. I'm super excited to have it. I will keep the Leica Q2 around as well, and I will probably make a comparison video between the Leica Q2 and the X100 at some point, and I will also take you along on my journey of using the X100V some more, and at some point I will most likely also make something like a long-term experience video or an actual review or whatever. Anyway, if you're interested in that sort of thing, stick around, but that's all I got for you today. Thanks for watching, I hope this was interesting to you, and I'll see you in another video. Take care, bye.